Hello anime and manga fans, I'm Kyle Glockner and welcome back to another episode of Animanga. As we round out this semester, I want to talk about one of my favorite anime and manga series, but I wasn't sure which one. After mulling it over for a bit, I decided on a series that I watched in my very early days of anime watching. So today, I'll be talking about Soul Eater. Soul Eater takes place in the fictional Death City in Nevada at the Death Weapon Meister Academy, a school that trains humans with the ability to transform into weapons and those who would wield them. We focus on the Meister, Maka Albarn, and her weapon, Soul Eater. The series mostly centers around these two, along with some other characters, as they attempt to gather enough souls to turn their weapons into a death scythe. One of the first things I noticed about this series was how much style it had. Everything from the characters to the buildings, the backgrounds, everything looks so unique. I feel like I could recognize anything from this series at a simple glance, and that's something that really sticks with me when I'm watching or reading a series. But the art style of Soul Eater in particular has this weird combination of gritty and cartoony at the same time, and it's an art style that I absolutely adore. But what helped the art be as amazing as it was the help of Bones Inc., which handled the animation. This is the same studio that did both Fullmetal Alchemist series, My Hero Academia, Bungo Stray Dogs, and Blood Blockade Battlefront, all of which I love partly for their animation. But on top of the amazing art style, I fell in love with the characters almost immediately. Each of them is brimming with personality and character that I hadn't seen in many shows before I watched this one, and I've rarely seen since. Even now, each one sticks out clearly in my mind as some of the most interesting characters I've ever seen, and this show has honestly made me hold characters to a higher standard than I did before watching. But while I love the Soul Eater anime, I felt as though the ending was pretty weak. After 51 episodes, I just felt as though the conclusion wasn't what the series needed, and especially wasn't what I wanted. But thankfully, much like with Dead Man Wonderland, my wishes were granted once I discovered the Soul Eater manga. Unlike Dead Man Wonderland, however, the Soul Eater anime is consistent with the manga for most of its run. The split between the two happens at episode 37 and chapter 37, right after the Battle for Brute and when Joe Butataki is called to DWMA. There's a very important split here, so I won't get into too many details in order to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. But I will say that at 113 chapters, there's a ton of story left for this series to tell, and boy does it tell it. Throughout the remaining chapters, the plot takes turns I never thought it would, and really amps up the tension as our cast deals with these new developments. Again, I don't want to give away any crucial details to the plot because it is truly amazing, and you should read it fresh if you get a chance. But I will say that much of the new plot revolves around Krona. Krona's introduction remains the same in the anime and manga, but Krona's development in the anime after the split didn't really sit well with me. It felt like a cheap write-off to finish off Krona's character arc. In the manga, however, Krona's character arc is phenomenal. Krona's story is much darker in the manga arcs and really took me by surprise when compared to the anime. There's one moment in particular that comes to my mind which is a dramatic turning point for Krona's character that made my jaw drop. This moment happens in chapter 87 and really kicks the plot into overdrive as we finish off the story. But much like a good story should, Soul Eater keeps every character's development fantastic and adds even more to their already fantastic characters that were established before the anime manga split, with my favorite being Death the Kid's character arc. Overall, Soul Eater is a fantastic anime and an even better manga. Another bonus is that it's a fantastic anime to start out with if you haven't really watched too many shows yet. Also, in my opinion, the dub really isn't that bad, making an even better show to get into anime. Soul Eater was directed by Takuya Igarashi and animated by Bones Inc., while the manga was written and illustrated by Atsushi Okubo. The anime sits at 51 episodes and the manga sits at 113 chapters, but while it may seem intimidating at first, I assure you, it's well worth the watch. But that's all the time I have for today, so let me know what you think by tweeting me at CTV Goofing Off using the hashtag Animanga. Until then, I'm Kyle Glockner, and this has been Animanga.